Bronte Coy,
Hello.
a long time coming entertainment reporter from news.com.au. Who would have thought
Two of us, here we are in the big city. We've made it.
Blonde bombshells in the big city talking about the royal family and all entertainment news.
I'd love that to be my permanent intro if I could. I might just send that out as my reel. Everyone, this is how we introduce it, the blonde bombshell.
That's a bit of an HR issue, but we're going to move. I'll go in there with you, so
Thanks,
they'll do
Maddie.
it for me as well. God, I mean, it's a long time. We're just speaking off air about this to two former interns.
Yeah.
I probably brought you a coffee in my day.
And, I'm sure it was good. I have fond memories of all the caffeine, so it must have been good. And look at you now, Maddie. We love to see it. Absolutely.
Now, I'm not a royals expert like you, so I want you to give me all the latest royals and entertainment news that's been happening this week. So we're going to kick off with
A crossover, actually.
a crossover
Entertainment and
royals. We're going to start with King Charles off to the red carpet.
Yes.
May I say?
Yes.
How bizarre was that? And to meet the stars of Gladiator.
I love this. We don't see the royals all that often at red carpet premieres in London, but they do go. So I think the last one would have been Kate and William with Top Gun Maverick in 2022, which was awesome. So they've turned up looking super glam. The King made quite an entrance there in his car. I think he pulled right up to the top of the red carpet. But what I love is you see Hollywood royalty like, so Ridley Scott. You got Ridley Scott, the director of Gladiator 2. You've got Denzel Washington, who I interviewed last week, by the way. And you've
plug.
got,
We'll have to watch that.
well, you've got people like these huge names and they're standing there and they're in their line waiting to see the King and greet him and have their 5 seconds talking to him. And they look quite nervous when you watch the videos, which is really funny.
They're lined up as if like they're at like a full-on royal event.
Yeah, they look quite nervous and then they sort of do their handshake. So basically the King turned up. He was supposed to be joined by Camilla, but she's come down with a chest infection, so that's why she also wasn't involved in Remembrance Day activities over the weekend. So he went on his own. It was the night before his birthday. He went to this glitzy premiere and he looked like he was having a really good time, can I also say. He had a big smile on his face. He's had a big few weeks and I think he just wanted to kick back and watch the movie, which is great. I have seen it. It's very good.
How do they go with interacting with the King?
Well, there's one moment that I particularly enjoyed. As I say, Hollywood royalty, Denzel Washington, it doesn't really get bigger than him. And it was so funny because you're watching the video, he puts his hand out to greet the King and then he kind of like panics a little bit, like he's not sure whether he was supposed to sort of put his hand out for the King to grab it and he kind of forgot you could see that he sort of glitched out a little bit. And so there's this funny moment and he says, I didn't know whether I was supposed to grab it, and the King's laughing. He's having a good time. He doesn't care. And so that was, look, it's a really nice moment, and it's also because the King is the patron of the film and TV charity, which is why he was there. He hosted an event at Buckingham Palace earlier in the day, which had Ridley Scott there and a bunch of other English actors. So just a really fun entertainment royal crossover, which we don't get often.
And that event that he hosted at Buckingham Palace, it wasn't just actors and actresses, it was TV presenters,
so Tiny
radio
Temper
presenters.
was there.
I can't remember the host's name from Traitors, my favourite TV show, but it was absurd that we weren't there, was my takeaway.
I'm offended, officially, if the Palace is listening. I can't believe it. It looked like the place to be, to be honest. Camilla was only there for a hot minute because, as I say, she's been unwell, but she did turn up. I think when there's a bunch of celebrities loitering around in your living room, you've got to go down and say hello.
You've got to be like, hey, Ridley.
I'm here, guys. But she only did a brief cameo and then was back upstairs. But look, it was a really fun day. It was a really glam day. We don't get it a lot. We don't really see the royals in that way. And the fact that then Charles sat down and watched the movie with the
I
rest
can't
of
believe
the
he
cast.
stayed.
Yeah,
I would have thought he'd slip out the back door.
And it's not short, as movies are. No movies are short
Who
these
did
days.
he sit near?
Yeah, I'd love to know. You're watching his
Imagine
reactions.
sitting near like the News Corp press pack.
I'd love to have been sitting behind him. Like, what popcorn's he eating? Is he a lolly man? Is he a choc top man?
If he was a choc top man,
We don't know.
you wouldn't ever hear abolish the monarchy out of my mouth if I saw that. But I don't know if they call it choc top here, by the way.
I know. As I said lollies too, I was like, listen, a translation for our English viewers, I think I mean sweeties.
Yeah.
I'm still adjusting. There's
Same.
some words
There's an adjustment period.
It's been, I've had 36 years of calling it a lolly. I apologise. It's a sweetie, which is a cute word for it, so it's better. But yes,
it actually is.
He had a night out at the movies and it was a lovely royal story. There's always good and, light and shade with the royals, and we love a night like this. When
we love it.
Yeah.
We love that they're just celebrities. They're just like us.
Yeah.
The royal family, they're just like us.
So relatable.
We're going to move on to obviously a tragic tale. You and I have spoken about this, of King Charles trying to figure out where his brother is.
The saga.
The saga that is.
The saga.
Where does Prince Andrew live? Why can't he stay at the Royal Lodge? Why won't he go to Frogmore Cottage? Why is he still living with his ex-wife?
Oh, that's the question I want to know that no one is actually talking about, and that's the main one. I'm really interested in that relationship. What's going on there? So this has been a months-long standoff. I think it's been over a year, actually, where there's been all these reports that the king is basically trying to squeeze Andrew out of Royal Lodge. It's a 30-room home. Royal Lodge makes it sound very cozy and small. Let me tell you, this is palatial.
There's no ski lodge.
It's palatial. It's a big one. It's not a chalet. So they're in the Windsor area, but they're not actually within royal grounds, which means they don't have the automatic protection of that the royals have within the castle grounds there, which is a key element because the king recently stripped Andrew of his security. He was paying for his extra security because, as I say, it's outside that boundary. So when that happened, there was talk, he's not going to be able to afford to live there. He won't be able to pay for the security. He'll need to move. Frogmore Cottage would be an option because it is within the grounds there. And it's empty, as we know, because Harry and Meghan were evicted. And it's a beautiful house, I'd like to mention. It's a really beautiful, large
but they make it seem like the slums of England.
They keep saying downgrade to Frogmore Cottage. I'm like, I'd like to significantly upgrade to Frogmore Cottage.
Frogmore Cottage is in quite literally the heart of the real estate world in London. If you bought that, you'd be absolutely killing it.
The Windsor area there is just absolutely beautiful. So look, Andrew does not want to leave, as we've discussed. He lives in his very large home with Fergie. It's just the two of them. But he had his security stripped. Everyone thought that was a big power play, from the king. That's going to probably force him out. It didn't. Then it emerged recently that he'd actually then stripped him of the allowance that he paid, which is reportedly about £1 million a year for his living allowance.
Wow, and they're not. But when you're getting that much money, are you even paying for that much? Because you're not paying rent.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't know what he's spending his money on.
Probably stuff that's quite alarming.
We don't know. And the thing is, he's not a working royal. There's not really a lot he can do to earn money outside that. And also royal finances are, they're not very transparent when they're not publicly, the taxpayer funded ones. Yeah. And that's, all right, that's fair enough. So yeah, it's not clear how much money he has or how much backup he has when all this other stuff's been stripped away. But basically everyone thought that the king's moves here was like the big final blow and Andrew will have to downgrade to Frogmore Cottage. This terrible final outcome. Anyway, it hasn't worked. And basically the summary is that Andrew appears to have won in the most mysterious way. So it has emerged this week that there is a mysterious benefactor. Someone is funding him now, and they say it's upwards of £3 million a year for him to stay there. And someone who has not been publicly identified has committed to funding that for him.
So someone is paying for his rent. Are they giving King Charles the money?
So it's reportedly this has gone through the keeper of the Privy Purse, which is a funny title, but basically means like the CFO of Buckingham Palace. It's like a high financial officer. And they've said that the source is legitimate, but I don't know what that means. I don't know who this person is, and also why. And also, for how long will they make these payments? That's the big question. Is this just pushing the problem along a little way? Is it, it's an issue now. Are they going to pay for 2 years and then we're going to still have this conversation 2 years from now? And anyway, in summary, he's won. I'd say he's won the battle. Has he won the war long term? Well, it depends on who this person is that's paying.
But he's not doing any working duties because the Queen stripped him of that right.
Yeah,
correct?
So he's not doing any of that stuff. But then there's questions of, I think he's likely got inheritance from the Queen Mother. That when she passed away, she left money, possibly from his own mother, the Queen, when she passed. So you would think the royals aren't poor.
No, they're not struggling. We need to make that clear as day.
Yeah. Exactly. It's just it's an interesting twist, but that there is someone who has stepped in to make such a generous offer. We have no idea who it is. But basically, this has been months and months and months of a standoff, but it appears that Andrew has actually managed to land the killer blow now.
Andrew has managed to stay within the confines of his 30-room estate. First of all, what does he have over King Charles that would strong-arm him into staying in this ridiculous house?
Gosh.
And why can't you and your ex-wife move to a 2-bedroom beautiful home that Harry and Meghan were gifted as part?
It's more than that. I think
it's
five.
2.
No, it's like this.
Why do they make it out to be this absolute tiny little cottage?
No, they did all these renovations. Basically, Frogmore Cottage was split into staff accommodation, I believe, under Queen Elizabeth's reign. And so when Harry and Meghan wanted to move to it, they renovated it so that the apartments, I suppose they were all sort of connected. So it's got to be a decent size. It's smaller than Royal Lodge, but it's newer. Apparently, Meghan installed floating floorboards for her yoga. You know, they said in the reports at the time. Like, it's a nice place under the flight path.
What does is there any word on what actually King Charles wanted to do with the Royal Lodge? Because wasn't there speculation that Wills was going to live there?
I think that was where it was all going to go. And look, to be honest, that makes sense. They're a growing family. They've got 3 kids that are running around the place. I believe. I mean, this is never been confirmed on the record, of course, but that was the reports where it would make sense for, Royal Lodge to go to William, Kate and the kids, and for Frogmore Cottage to then go to Andrew and presumably Fergie. Presumably Fergie's going with him.
I do think that it needs to be addressed, and maybe next time you come on the show, we'll have more information on why Fergie and him are still living together and what this dependent relationship is despite being divorced for how many years?
Oh, I think they got divorced. That was the 90s. So like a long time. But they seem to be the best of friends. And also,
well, that's sweet.
She was his major supporter when everything was, rightly or wrongly, when everything was happening. She was the one that was in his corner talking about what a wonderful man he was. I don't know. It's very odd. I wish I knew more about that, to be honest.
I wish we had an hour just for this.
I just want that deep
this
dive.
couple.
Yes.
We're going to move on to the future king, Prince William. He's made comments about the way he would reign as the future monarch. He said that he would be a royal, but a lowercase royal. Can you walk me through what this means?
I can. So, look, this is something we've seen so many signs of in recent months. It's something that, we've been talking about in our articles, all that kind of thing, is that basically he and Kate, it's very clear that they're looking to do more specific targeted work. So it's these long form projects as opposed to the traditional royal approach, which was turning up and doing 10 engagements in a day. And it's not disparaging on the royals that did that. That's the way it was. You turn up and you open a leisure centre and you go to a charity and meet a bunch of people and you shine the spotlight on them for that hour that you're there. So what William wants to do is have longer projects, things like his homelessness project, which is a 5-year targeted solutions-based plan. And also Earthshot Prize is another example. That's about finding solutions for the climate emergency. And Kate with her early years foundation work, which is also a years-long plan to to help society and to help people in a really targeted way. So that's what he's talking about. It's about it's not getting rid of the pomp and pageantry, but it's modernising the royals and sort of just changing their approach to how they go about their daily roles, because I think he's seen that we are still in a transitional phase from, it feels like forever since the Queen died. But really it's only been 2 years. And we are still in that transitional phase, and I think people are still trying to work out, how the royals are going to be relevant into the future. And I think that's why he's trying to make it very clear what he plans to do. And it's ambitious because he's giving specific deadlines to himself. The homelessness project, for example, he's saying 5 years we're going to figure it out. And it's quite a tall order.
It's a very political move of what he's
doing. Very political. And that's a big departure from, Prince Charles has been a little bit cheeky because the royals aren't supposed to make it clear their political leanings. Charles has been a bit cheeky in that area in the past because he has passion areas. He's obviously, you pull that back when you're the monarch. But I think William as well he's coming as close to that as he can, I think, within the confines of the job. But at the same time, I think he and Kate don't want to just have, hundreds of patronages.
Yeah.
They want to have a few that they are really
proper
delivering
projects.
for. Yeah. And I think it's a good idea. Already you're seeing there's a lot of interest in the things that he's doing, like Earthshot Prize and the homelessness. Both of them have had a lot of cut through in the last few weeks because they've had, the documentary about homelessness, the Earthshot Prize Awards. But it gets that global attention, because it's they're big, large-scale projects and they bring in a lot of people. So I think it's interesting. I think it's going to be very different.
Why do you think that Meghan and Harry didn't kind of have that support and love when they were doing big humanitarian projects?
Look at you. So
I'm
so
straight
ready for
into it.
I think Harry and Meghan, I'm like a broken record on this with all the times I've spoken about Harry and Meghan in the past.
Probably every week.
No, but because I'm so positive about their actions when they joined up as a team, right? When they came out as a couple and they're engaged and they got married. I was on the royal beat then, and it was so positive, and there was this massive scope for like really, really dramatic shifts and great work and sort of this new era of royals. And it's what we're talking about with William and Kate.
Yeah.
It is that kind of approach. I think I've got the Miley Cyrus words in my head. It was a little bit like I came in like a wrecking ball, like maybe just like a little bit more gently. I think they had, you know, they were excited about what they were doing. And this is all post quitting royal life. I've got different thoughts on everything they've done since then. But before that, I think they had really big ideas. I think they had good ideas. I think they were really purpose driven, but I think it was very dramatic. And there is there's a hierarchy in the royal family that needs to exist because the monarch needs to be the boss of the firm. And I think that the way it all went, I think it was just a little bit maybe too much too quickly. And I think people didn't respond well to that. It ruffled feathers. I think they didn't like being told to sort of like wait a hot minute, you know. And I just think the approaches from all angles, I don't think it was gelling.
They wanted to find their place, those two, in the royal family with the next generation, whatever that may be. Moving on to this Good Morning Britain panellist who's been absolutely cascaded online for tweeting that Princess Kate looked weathered or looked like she'd aged.
The tweet was along the lines of, genuine question, these are her words, genuine question, why has she aged so much? Must be smoking, it's the only explanation.
Isn't she only 42?
And
tone deaf.
It's just, I mean, look, the pile-on has been like pretty much across the board. Everyone agrees why we, at a very first level, why are we criticising women's appearances out in public? Like, it's just, it's very jarring.
Also, not even just aren't we so beyond that, isn't it? Just, aren't you aware of just the backlash that you will obviously face?
It's like poor decision to begin with. I think the broader context is that, you know, clearly everyone on the planet knows that Kate's been battling with cancer, and not only that, but she's spoken so candidly. We've never heard royals speak so openly about their challenges. She's discussed her vulnerability of like facing her mortality and the difficulties that she's had all year, and then to come back for her first weekend of back-to-back royal duties and someone be like, wow, you look pretty crap.
Yeah, and not even a random, like someone who literally like appears on Good Morning Britain and
describes
Loose Women.
himself as a feminist. I was just really surprised. I mean, I'll say as a separate issue, I think we always see the darkest corners of the internet behaving in the worst possible way with these things, and obviously she's now received like completely insane threats and all that kind of thing. That's a separate issue. But I don't think that and she's obviously rightfully upset about that, but I think that doesn't absolve you of the original act that sparked all this, which is this tweet was, she apologized for it later, but the apology in itself was problematic because she did a video and she started off, yes, it was stupid, blah blah, and she did delete it. But then she got really angry about the backlash, and she also then, these are the two things that really pushed it forward and were quite unforgivable, I think, is that she's then in the apology pointed to Kate's privilege in being able to take time off work. Obviously, Kate's got privilege. People have, this is what happens. It was so uncalled for, though, to be like, she didn't have to work for months while she was unwell and dealing with cancer. It is so sad that people do, to be honest. Like, it is a terrible issue, but what a strange thing to target Kate for while you're apologising for this horrendous tweet you wrote about her.
Like, she had cancer. Well, she has cancer.
She had cancer. And you know what? She was fortunate to have the ability to be able to take that time off with her family while she underwent chemotherapy. She was fortunate with that. But, like, what an odd criticism. And then the second part was that she, and this is the worst part because it really harks back to early this year when we had that frenzy around the world. We'd never seen it before with Kate and William, or any royals really, of the speculation about what was going on with Kate, right? Which is really what forced her to say she had cancer publicly. And in this, the panelist, the TV presenter, said it was along the lines of, we don't know what type of cancer she has. She was basically questioning how sick Kate had been. And it was just a very, again, it's not something to be dissected in this conversation. Kate has said everything she's going to say about it. It's her health at the end of the day. She said more than royals have in the past by far about her health, and she doesn't need to disclose it.
And she doesn't owe you. Just because you're a royal doesn't mean you need to owe it to the public to say what type of cancer you have, how sick you've been, how long you'll be out.
And she did give us information. And the idea that we're now platforming again, and obviously that leads to people having conspiracy theories about how sick she was and all that kind of thing. It just, as soon as you start questioning it and dissecting it, it again just brings in all the people that want to, pull apart this poor woman's health at a time when, as I say, she spent the year apparently questioning, the vulnerabilities of
a
life.
mother of 3 children, but also I'm so confused because she quite literally looked amazing.
She also did look. She always looks amazing.
Wait, what?
The smoking thing was weird too.
What
a weird. Yeah, it was odd. The whole thing was odd, but I think the apology made it a lot worse. I think people do have short memories. If you apologise wholeheartedly for things and delete it, people do move on. But the fact that there was that follow up was, I think, catastrophic. You've
made it absolutely worse. On a much lighter note, into some entertainment news, as your background would read. We finally had People Magazine's Sexiest Person of the Year. Definitely one of my favourite events of the year. John Krasinski taking out the gold.
Yes.
Who would have thought this guy winning it?
Are you a John Krasinski fan?
I am because of The Office, but I don't really watch. I haven't watched, what's that, the movies him and Emily?
Well, no, exactly,
Silent,
A Quiet Place. But
Quiet Place.
Your answer there is absolutely perfect as a jump-off point to my reaction to this, which is I'm a John Krasinski fan. I've interviewed him as well. Lovely guy, very attractive, all that.
Good.
I just can't understand why at this point in his career, when, as you say, he was everyone's, TV boyfriend between, I think, 2005 and 2013 when The Office was on. But at this point in his career, you go, why now? Also, like when I look back at it as well, Patrick Dempsey
That's what I was about to say. He was 2023. That is not his heyday.
No, it's very
It would
odd.
obviously be 2000, I want to say 2000, maybe 5 or 6. Grey's Anatomy was 2003. He was
like McDreamy or whatever. I never watched
God,
it.
I was obsessed. I still am. But I was happy as, an old fan for him to get 2023. But I was confused.
It is confusing.
I feel like they just honestly pick it out of a hat. Pick out a lost boy out of the hat.
Well, here's what I've found, and this could explain it a little bit. So when I was looking at the criteria and how they decide, so there is a report, and I've got to say it's in the Daily Mail. They've reported this. So whether it's true or not, I cannot verify, but they claim that it would make sense. The person who is chosen has to actively participate, right? Like they have to do the cover shoot. They have to sit down for the interview. Now, apparently they were begging Pedro Pascal and who was the other?
Was it Glenn?
Yes, and Glenn Powell. Begging them to be the sexiest man. Like they wanted to get, and they both refused and continue to refuse. And that would make a lot of sense because they are both absolutely the people of the moment, like especially Glenn Powell, but Pedro Pascal as well.
What was the other person that I had in as, Jonathan Bailey?
Oh, yeah, no, we'd love that. And that would make sense too with all the Bridgerton and now Gladiator and Wicked stuff.
Yeah.
And but it would make a lot of sense if people were turning it down and the reasons the source told the publication, whether, again, I can't verify this is what they've written, but they said that when they were asked to do it, they went on to say that it wasn't, quote, important to them at this point in their career. I can see how the people who are, some actors are on their serious actor trajectory.
Glenn Powell probably wants to get out of the rom-com.
The pin-up sort of thing. So, look, that could explain it, to be honest. That could be part of it. I love
John Krasinski was like, yeah, this is my time.
He's like, no, I'm in. Let me strip down, oil me up. I don't want to be disparaging on him because I actually think he's fantastic. But it's the timing. Like we're saying, the timing is weird.
It's just odd that they keep choosing these people out of the woodworks. But, I mean, I'm all for it because I do think he's incredibly hot. But
look, I'm happy for him. I don't want to ruin it. I just think it's a bit weird. But also,
it is fun to dissect that.
It's better than Blake Shelton in 2017. That was weird too.
It also random.
So random.
Was that the year that he married?
That one got a lot of backlash. I feel mean saying he got backlash. Like he's not. He's fine. But people were like, what?
I think it's because it's like you expect it to be like the man of the hour.
Yeah, totally.
And there's always going to be a few men of the hour in every year.
There's obvious
and
ones.
it was obviously like, it has been like Jonathan Bailey, like Pedro Pascal, Glenn Powell.
Even Paul Mescal with his Gladiator year.
Even Paul Mescal, or even like, I don't know, even like Jacob Elordi. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Or Barry Keoghan.
Yeah.
Is that how you say his name?
Yeah. That's
like they're the ones that have been spoken about the most. So you kind of assume that it would be them, but it's like John Krasinski, like out of the woodworks. Like,
I'm happy. Look, it's kind of like Adam Brody getting his like new era after the OC. I'd be happy with that. I'd be happy for him to win too. Just people, if you're listening. Yeah. Adam Brody for 2025.
When he did Nobody Wants This, which is a phenomenal show. All the memes about like this one was for the OC girlies who knew. We walked so you could run. We could run. We
waited. Oh, man, that was my entire high school personality was loving Seth Cohen.
I was literally saying downstairs, like, when you get, like, a high school locker, like, the posters I had with Chris Hemsworth,
Yes.
but from Home and Away, not from any of his, like, Marvel.
Kim Hyde, I'm with you, girl.
Like Kim Hyde. Like, are you kidding? Like, you were stunning. And then it was...
Jesse Spencer, Neighbours.
No, I wasn't a Neighbours girl.
Oh, gosh. All right.
I
Well,
can't
my
believe you like
British people will understand. You've got to go across both.
I was obsessed. And then it was literally Ryan Atwood, Seth Cohen, and I don't want to hear it otherwise. Sometimes downstairs, my colleagues say that they've never watched OC, and I crumble inside. Yeah, it's impossible. It is Kim impossible.
No, you couldn't. At my school, it was mandatory. You could not attend school the next day if you had not watched the OC.
You turn up ostracized.
At the door. So what do you think? Did we watch Marissa die last night? There were like tributes for her the following
Bronte,
day.
If you watched Marissa die, you wouldn't be at school.
No,
you would be taking a day off. You would not be at all. You'd be in a state of mourning.
It sounds really
and you would just stay in that state of mourning for at least 6 months, as everyone did. We're going to stay in this kind of sexiest men situation that we found ourselves in.
Yep.
Prince William, second year in a row, he's won Sexiest Bald Man.
Yeah, okay.
And this is a situation I didn't know was a real thing, but it is.
I think that, I'm going to be honest with you, it's been a bit of a controversial topic for the Royals this year, but I do think that the beard is playing a role here.
I do think so.
I think in the same way that Adam Brody's had his little resurgence, I reckon that beard has brought Prince William right back to the forefront, because I had the biggest crush on him when I was in high school, as everyone did. But, you know, Prince William, as we all do, we've all gotten older and he's kind of looking like a dad now and all that. And I just stopped thinking about him that way. And then you see him with the beard and he looks so handsome.
There's something rugged about a beard. And I think that if you lose your head of hair, you need to be willing to grow a beard.
I mean, do what you like,
no
you know.
offense to everyone if you can't.
But if you want to be in the running for this prize, that's what we're saying. No, it was just, I think the beard has had a lot to do with this, but it's proven oddly controversial. Like some people are very upset about the beard.
Who do people think that they wanted?
No, the beard thing though is like every time I speak to people, they're like, oh, I don't like it. No, it looks, it looks scruffy and all that. I'm like,
is it because he's the royal?
Yeah, but Harry has a bit, although.
Oh, well, he's not. He's on the out.
Yeah, but he had it for his wedding as well. But
what did you think about number 6, Danny DeVito?
I feel really mean. I know when Danny DeVito listens to this, he's going to be really upset. Look, again, maybe past his heyday. Did he have a heyday?
I just think they've like pulled a bunch of bald men into a hat again and just been like,
I agree with Dwayne Johnson on there.
Oh, I would have thought he'd be number 1, to be honest.
He's pretty great.
Who is the actor that I thought? Jason Statham.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of random. He's not on there.
Is he not?
Yeah, he's not. Oh, top 10. Stanley Tucci, number 9, would have put him a bit higher.
Yeah, I love Stanley Tucci.
Kelly Slater, always a crowd favourite.
Keep him top 3 always. Don't ever move from there.
He survived a shark attack. So
yeah, he's so cool.
Well, a shark near him. So, and to us, that means a lot.
Near-death experience.
So, okay, well, just finally, we obviously have to talk about this press tour that is the Wicked press tour. It's giving Barbie, Oppenheimer, Wicked / Gladiator. I'm intrigued to see who battles it out in the box office, but the Wicked press tour, I find myself, I'm not in the side of people that find the stars of Wicked annoying. I find it quite touching that they keep crying in every interview.
It's weird.
It is weird, but I'm all for it.
I wanted to know why. So they have cried a lot and it has actually become a major talking point. You're right. The scope of this press tour is very Barbie-esque on its own even because it's basically they've committed to the outfits in the way that Margot Robbie did with the whole pink thing. Like the style of it becomes a whole section of the marketing, which is that Cynthia Erivo wears the green and obviously Ariana Grande wears the pink. And so there's all that around it. But then, of course, they are crying all the time, which is becoming another subsection. And I was like, are they
like
just
a
not happy?
Don't worry, darling vibe.
Okay, Don't Worry, Darling is one of my favourite moments in my 10 years in entertainment reporting. That press tour was cursed and I loved every second of it. Anyway, enough on that, but we'll return to that later. But the Wicked tour, so they've been crying and apparently they're happy tears, but when I looked into it, it's because apparently they had such a long lead-in time of pre-production and then COVID delays, and then they were 10 days from finally finishing. And this is a very technical film. There's a lot of big, big scenes in it, and they had a lot of rehearsals and I think that they were 10 days from completing filming when the writer's strike hit. And so then they had to shut down indefinitely.
Oh, right.
So this has been a very, very long weight especially for the stars who they have to keep themselves match fit the whole way through. And I don't mean in terms of just physicality. I mean the whole thing. You're in the game. You're doing the singing, everything. Like you just really have to stay match fit.
And they were singing live in the movie.
Yeah, so it's all of that. So waiting. I think they said the wait was like 3 years or something.
And they were promoting this at the Olympics.
Yeah,
at the Paris Olympics. Like so I honestly was like, when is this coming out? Because there was so much promotion around it.
So apparently that's why the two of them. I think they've just been through a lot together, and they said they're happy tears. But I think it is just again, it's finally having it like out in the world. It's having it, so people can finally see this thing that they've been living in for years, because they become very enmeshed in these projects.
And Ariana Grande, there it is.
Got there.
She was saying that this was just such a role that she basically would do anything for. She didn't even care if she got paid. She just wanted to be in Wicked.
She says that. I'd love to know.
I know. I would. Yeah, mate. You probably got paid like $1 million dollars.
Yeah.
But she said that doing this film brought back a piece of her that had been lost for a while. I imagine since Manchester and since
She's had a
her
rough.
ex died.
She's had a rough.
She's had a rough trot.
She's an unbelievable performer. Like the casting for this film is spectacular, and it does look really good. I haven't seen it yet, but I'm looking forward to seeing it. But I got to say, the crying thing kind of gave me. Do you remember Lady Gaga's press tour for A Star Is Born?
Yes.
Do you remember that one quote she kept on saying, and that became like the theme of the tour?
What was it?
Okay, I'm glad you asked. It was. And it's amazing because it's basically burnt into my brain that year. But there could be 100 people in one room and 99 don't believe in you, and all it takes is one person to believe in you, and that could change everything.
Yeah,
and she's talking about Bradley Cooper, but she said it so many times that it's like everyone spoke about the
believes in you.
They spoke about the tour, and
you're also a sensational performer that's been around for a while.
So it's look, the crying kind of gives me those vibes. But
what I did cry about, I teared when she was in an interview, Ariana, and she said, when in the credits, she put her double-barreled last name, which included her dad's last name because she uses her mum's maiden name. And and they said, what does that mean to you to have your dad's last name? And she was like, stop, and starts crying.
And they're like, she's off again. She's crying again. It was, I think, didn't she say it was an homage to her younger self, because that's the age, I think that was the age she went and saw Wicked as a child. So it's kind of like that little nod to her childhood
Dreams come
self.
true if you just have that 1% of people that believe in you.
You just need one person in the room, okay? You're that person for me, Maddie.
And you are for me. Two interns from Summer Bay. Oh, well, Bronte Coy, this has been absolutely hilarious and fun to get down to the royal and the entertainment business, and you're going to come on again with me.
Please, anytime you want me.
Oh, well, thanks for having me. Thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Virgin Radio.